You're listening to Tara Lynn's A Geek Saga podcast. This episode features audio from a previously aired live video webcast. Hi, I am Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment, and welcome to the first episode of my 2001 Walt Disney World College Program 20-year reunion series. This episode will focus on our pre-college program experiences, and I'm joined by my buddy Bryan. Wow. I'm joined by my buddy Bryan, who is one of many friends I met on the 2001 CP and have somehow remained in contact with for 2 whole decades. So, Bryan, you want to tell me like a little bit about yourself? Like if you have web presence, how people can find you, anything like that. And we'll go over it again at the end, too, as well. But like, what do you do now for life? All that sort of fun stuff.
Fun stuff. Hey guys, excuse me. I'm Bryan Mathis. Back in the day, I went by the name of Bryan Black, or as some would call it, Black. I do now, where I work now, I'm executive for a cannabis company up in Washington State. I also have a small consulting company where I'm hired for a myriad of cannabis-related product development and supply chain management and so forth and so on. I mean, you can go on and on for it. Married for 11 years for someone I'd met after the college program in Florida who was from Canada on the international program. I have 3 daughters, a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. They all reside in Florida, and I live between Florida and Washington because the company I work for is in Washington. The family lives in Florida. So, you can find me, Bryan of Cannabis on Instagram. Or Bryan L. Mathis on Instagram as well.
All right. Yeah. I realized like I didn't really say anything about my personal life, which I don't really have too much to say. I work in continuing medical education for my day job, but I do all of this stuff on the side. A little bit of cosplay, a lot of public speaking and webcasting and podcasting. You can find me across the web, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, at A Geek Saga. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, all with the same username. And I am I'm originally from Connecticut, was in South Carolina for very many years, went back and forth to Florida a bit here and there, and currently living in California, randomly enough. And I'm actually pretty close to Disneyland, about 40 minutes away. So not that I've been yet because, wow, it is expensive, like unnecessarily expensive for Disneyland. Like I could go to Disney World for less, you know?
Yeah. It's a different side when you don't work for them, the prices, right?
Yeah. So yeah, let's dive in. First, I want to talk about where we were in our lives when we found out about the college program. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
You go first.
Okay. So I wrote out a whole little story here because this is the easiest way for me to remember and present this. But when I first found out about the college program, it was November of 2000. And I was in my first semester of freshman year of college. So, a baby. But back in those days, I was shy, which anybody who knows me now finds absolutely hilarious because I am the complete opposite of that, which is a lot of thanks to the college program, in fact. But yeah, I was shy and I was a big homebody. I had chosen a school that was about 30 minutes from where I grew up. And it was a good school, and that I had a full scholarship, but it was very tiny and I was not loving my time there. I already knew 2 months in or so to the first semester that I'd made the wrong choice. So one day I wandered into the student union and I see this bright purple and yellow poster advertising the Walt Disney World College Program. Like I saw the colors caught my eye, but the Mickey head too, it had the outline of the Mickey on it. It's kind of very 90s Disney Channel-esque. But the presentation date that was on it had already gone by, but I had to know more. So as soon as I could park myself in front of a computer, I did a Yahoo search. Yes, a Yahoo search, and lost myself in all these web pages that had been created by past participants. And just to drive home how long ago this was, most of those pages were hosted on GeoCities and similar websites. Some of them were pretty well organized and up to date. A couple of them even had message boards. And because this was before there were people who felt the need to police any and every mention of the college program online, there was a lot of talk about the party lifestyle. And, people complained about the work on these websites and stuff, from time to time. But even the people who complained said they would go back in a heartbeat. And I loved everything about Disney. I wouldn't say I was obsessed with it, but I absolutely loved everything about Disney. And I was really bored with my life as it was. So I knew that I had to get on this Walt Disney World college program. So where do you have a similar story, like how you found out about it, or was it through word of mouth or something for you?
I can't recall exactly where I saw it. Disney in my family is pretty deep. Grandparents, uncles, aunts, we always took trips. My dad and my family took trips to Disneyland and Disney World. And me personally, I always was excited to meet new people. And growing up in Illinois, central Illinois, very close to St. Louis, from a very, St. Louis is what St. Louis is. You guys have all seen it. And so I always felt that there were more people out in the world who might be a little bit cooler. So I wanted to go to college, and I went to University of Illinois because it's close enough to home, 2 hours. So if Dad wanted to come visit, he'd have to call, but he still could come and visit. And so my sophomore year, I remember again, don't remember where I saw it, but I remember the application process, and I did go online. Mm-hmm. And I remember doing very similar to what you said, as far as looking up what other people were saying about it. And mostly the people were saying that you want to be 21. So I was making sure that I was 21 years old when I went there so that when I applied, I'd be. I remember my interview wasn't a big interview, it was a single interview. I remember being super excited, and the person I'm talking to on the phone being just astronomically just extroverted, just way over the top. And me personally, I've always been outgoing person. I don't want to say a partier, but I definitely am a driving engine in conversations. I talk way too much. I love to meet people. I'm a social butterfly. So the prospect of going down to Disney, where I'd meet hordes of college people from all over the world, it was just so exciting to me. Illinois, after just like a couple years in college, already felt a little too small. So I was really looking forward to going out and meeting more.
How many students were at your school?
Yeah, yes, that's the killer part about it. I believe when I was there, it was 40,000 undergrad. And like I said, too small, yeah.
Yeah, there were 600. There were 600 people. 600. I'm sorry. I think it was there were 600 people on campus at my school and 400 commuters. Yes. So 1,000, which was about twice as big as my high school. I went to a really tiny high school too, so it was bigger for me. But yeah, this was like a whole other animal. Now, just so you said you probably did, or you did like the searches for experiences and stuff. Do you remember anything specific? Like, I just remember I saw so many websites that were like, maybe not so many. I feel like there were maybe 4 or 5 of them that were pretty commonly like in the top. They were the top like search hits, and they had, pictures. One girl had done a summer program, and she was a lifeguard.
Yes.
And hers was like, hers was like the best one in terms of like, wow, this makes it look like so much fun.
I don't remember specific ones like that specifically. I do remember an overall general happiness of an outgoing perspective. I just remember seeing Vista Way. Remember seeing it in magazines, and that it was the quintessential college intern experience with the work and the play. And the work wasn't all that great, but the play absolutely made up for it. And it was just repetitive. And I also can't remember seeing my roommate got sent home for underage drinking a lot, like on those reviews. So those, again, not specifics, but I definitely remember it coming off as that it would be a life-altering experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you said you wanted to be 21, like you had to be 21.
Yes.
For me, I wasn't like a huge, I was so young. I was 17 when I started college. And remember, I said that this was my freshman year of college, that
Wow.
first semester freshman year that I saw that poster. So for me, it was like, if I want to wait till I'm 21, I have to wait years, and I need to get out of this situation like yesterday. So, you know, I was too late to go to spring advantage, obviously. But yeah, I as much as you said, you saw all the things about, oh, my roommate got sent home for underage drinking. What I saw was, don't be an idiot and you won't get sent home for underage drinking.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to get into anything much that happened on the college program, because we have upcoming episodes that are going to talk a lot more in detail about that. You know, and hopefully have some more people and get a more rounded idea of like people's experiences. But I do like that we have like me over here who was just like, get me out of here. I don't care if I'm under 21. And you who was like, no, I want to be 21 because I want to be able to party.
Yes.
But I also, I mean, I was an oldest kid, but I was skilled at this point at like, you know, I knew I could be smart about this.
Yes. Exactly. Because the NT check was still important to me as well. Like I don't want to just gloss over that. I believe in a heavy balance of work and play, and the real world experience. I got a role hopper position, so the real world experience I was so excited for, to be able to, and I didn't get credits for it, but just to experience Disney World from the other side, since I grew up going to it as a guest. I was really excited to see how it ticked. That was so exciting to me.
Yeah, no, same. Like, as much as I was, like you said, it was a big part of like, you knew that you were going to be there meeting so many people from all over the world, and also seeing how Disney worked from the inside, and you know, and loving, like being somebody who loved Disney, you know. I had friends on the college program who had never been to Disney before, and then I had friends who were like DVC members and went 1-2 times a year every year. I was kind of in the middle of that, where you know, I went the first time, I think I was 9, and I'd been maybe 2 times since then. So I think I'd been 3 times before my college program, or maybe 4. I don't know, 4 times. Let's say it was 4 times total. And you know, but yeah, like seeing all these websites and everything, you know, I like you said, I don't want to make light of the fact that maybe the work itself wasn't something that I thought would be super important, but I went into this, you know, the application process, everything. As much as I wanted the life experiences from it, I also knew the work experience would be important for me, because, you know, growing up in a really small town, there weren't summer jobs that were like, I worked a little like office job, like friend of the family type thing when I was in high school. So I didn't have really a lot of real world work experience. And I was excited to get that, you know, too, for sure. So correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said this already. There was an online application.
There was.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, like, I'm pretty sure I filled one out online, but I'm pretty sure I also printed something. Like, I know I brought a resume with me. I don't know why, because my resume at this point was absolutely useless. It had like my summer high school job, and I think I put my acting resume stuff in there, because I was like, if I put acting resume stuff in there, maybe they'll put me in like a fun attraction, like great movie ride or whatever. So I filled it out online, the application then, but I definitely printed it out, and I'm very type A. So I definitely printed it out and brought it with me along with my resume, such as it was. Because, like, you know, back then you had to go to an in-person presentation at your school or another school nearby. My school was too small for a presentation, so I had to drive like 20-25 minutes to a nearby university. And this is in like February 2001 that I finally went to a presentation and had my interview. And did you start fall advantage, or were you earlier? Were you spring?
So my first one, remember I had multiple,
Uh-huh.
was Spring Advantage
Okay,
2000.
that's what I thought.
Yeah, and I extended it the full year. That's where I
Mhm.
met you.
Yeah. I was just fall. Because as much as I was ready to like get out and have my fun and do my own thing, I also didn't want to miss like summer at home with my friends. So, and I also, having never really been away from home for more than a week at a time, you know, I went to school so close that, and I was able to have a car on campus because I was like a scholarship student. I don't know how that worked or why, but that was like their rules. Like if you're a scholarship student, you can have a car on campus. So I so I drove home like constantly. Sometimes I would just drive home for dinner in the middle of the week because the food sucked, you know? So I was worried about being away from home for that long, which is why I chose fall, you know. But so did you had to go to an in-person presentation, right?
I
Like,
did it. Yeah,
yeah.
and my school was large, so it was at my university.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and then directly after the presentation, they started doing the interviews. So I got to interview. I believe it was the same day because I remember getting dressed for it, and yeah, it was the same day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mine, that was kind of one of the things where I think just after the presentation, when people were signing up for interviews, I went, you know, up and they had a thing saying like, are you here from another school? And if you were here from another school, they prioritized you because there were, I can't remember exactly how many, but they had it in one of those little, like, it was kind of a little auditorium that probably for a normal class holds, I don't know, 100 people. And it was pretty packed. You know, like there were empty seats, but I would hazard a guess that there were 60 people, like 60 people there to apply. And so I, you know, I put on the thing that, yeah, like I was there from another school. And so I had my interview that evening and you know, I dressed for it, which, you know, God, I don't remember what I wear. It was ugly, I'm sure, because this was by, you know, early 2000s fashion.
I remember church clothes. I
Yeah,
remember breaking down the church clothes.
Yeah, mine was, I'm pretty sure mine was slacks and a button-up shirt, which I worked from home for so long that I don't even think I own things like that anymore. But yeah, so I actually had to like, I had to go back through things, and because I had written a bunch of stuff down years and years and years ago to try to remember it. And I definitely had, it took me a bit to remember, but I definitely had a one-on-one interview. And I know, because I know they had group interviews back then. And I think for my 2002 college program, I had a group interview. But for this one, it was one-on-one, which was probably for the best at the time because I think if there had been other kids there spouting whatever their actual real world experience and stuff was, it would have made me even more nervous than I already was.
Oh, I remember it being a one-on-one. I remember the person being just so enthusiastic.
Mm-hmm.
Even for me, I was just like, oh, wow, that's a lot of energy. I remember them kept asking me about my Disney memories. They kept asking me. I remember having to talk about the different times I went to Disney, which I later found out why. You know, they teach you that in traditions, but I didn't understand it at the time. Learned a lot of real world experience from Disney, and I still apply so much of it. But I just love how, really they start in the interview process selling you on Disney World. And even now, 20 years later, I don't remember if it was what they identified with, who interviewed me, what they were wearing. The only thing I remember, and this is the only thing I remember, is their Disney magic. How just enthusiastic they were to work for Disney and how they just kept trying to pull that enthusiasm out of me during the interview. That's 20 years later, that's the same Disney magic, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, like, as nervous as I was also so excited that I really like, I remember being like effusive in a way I only ever had been like in auditions and on stage before.
Yes.
I was never like this one-on-one with people back then.
Yes.
Now I am. Like now I'm more like you, in which I'm the person that starts and runs conversations and gathers people together. But back then I was so shy. I was such a baby. Like, and I don't like the word baby. I was such a bebe, as Moira Rose says. But you know, it was and like you said, like just the person who interviewed you, I mean, and years later I was a college rep and everything, and it was still the same then too. Like the people who were the interviewers and everything, they were so into it. They were, and part of me in hindsight wonders, like, had they really swallowed all that Disney magic, or were they good on putting on a show, you know?
Is that, aren't those maybe one and the same?
Yeah. And again, like this is something that I know we will get into a lot more when we talk about when we actually we're on the college program starting like next month. But yeah, I'm glad I had a one-on-one interview for sure, because I don't think I would have been as good at it as if I'd been in a group. I would have been more nervous and probably not spoken up as much. I do remember being just the presentation just throughout it, you know, as excited as I'd been beforehand, I was just more and more excited as it went on. And at the end, it's just like, oh my God, when can I get into this interview? Like now, please, now. So I guess, you know, for me, I already said why I chose the fall program versus like fall advantage, because as much as I wanted to be away from home, I was also a little bit scared because I hadn't really ever been. I lived at college, but it was so close. And, you know, and I also wanted summer with my friends, you know, one last summer with my friends from home, because I had no idea what would happen or where I would go. I knew I wasn't going to come home from the program and stay in Connecticut, that's for sure. Or stay at that school. Like, so for me, it was like fall has to be it for now. So what made you chose spring advantage originally, correct?
Well,
or spring?
From my recollection is a little hazy because there's so many memories in between there. But I remember something happening to the fact of like me missing a deadline or something, and I wanted to go in fall, but I missed it or something. So the next thing they had available was the spring advantage. Or the spring, and it was 4 months or 6 months. In my mind, I was like, "What? If I'm going to Florida, I'm going to go to Florida for 6 months. I'm gonna go and have a good time." So it was. I remember leaving in February because it was a couple weeks past when school started. So I got to run back up to the University of Illinois and then take off from there. But yeah, it was definitely the spring advantage of 2001. I remember looking online. And seeing things like, I don't know why I remember this, but the person you stand in line with is who's going to be your roommate. So like talk to whoever's in line. And I remember there were these group chats prior to. And so there was this like, I remember this group of people who were all on the same spring advantage. It was, you know, chat back in the day. And I ended up being in line with one of the people that I had chatted with prior to going.
I did too. Actually, weirdly enough, my friend Becky, who's Rebecca Cannon, who's in the live chat right now, we chatted a ton before the college program, and like we ended up. Yeah, she's saying AOL. I'm pretty sure it was AOL. Like there was a messenger group, AOL messenger group or something.
It might have been AOL.
Yeah, and so we chatted a ton, and we were in line together. But I don't want to get into this too much, but I wanted a 2-bedroom, and I think she was a 3-bedroom. So we weren't roommates because of that. But we were like, I'm pretty sure we just randomly ended up in line, like right near each other. And also like I was there with my family for a few days before the college program. And one of my other longtime friends, Allie, was there with her family before her college program, but she was checking in like 2 days later. So we met at, Allie and I met up at the beach club, but my family and I, Boardwalk. My family and I were staying at the Boardwalk, and her family might've been too. I don't know. We met up at the Boardwalk and like hung out and met in person, this random person from online, which back then was like, you don't do that shit. Like nowadays it's totally normal. Yeah. But back then it was like, my parents were like, are you sure you should go meet this random person? I'm like, It's a girl. She's like almost the same age. It's like a year older than me. Like, she's doing the college program too. It's fine. Like, we're at Disney. We're in public. What's gonna happen? But yeah, she's like turned out to be one of my best friends. She does my taxes every year.
That's
like,
awesome.
So yeah. Oh gosh. And I'm already getting into things like from check-in, which I didn't want to do, but it's so hard not to kind of just go from one thing to the other. But okay,
I mean,
so
that portion of it was so fast for me too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even the check-in process, like I remember getting there a day early, and this was I don't know, I'm sure things have changed, but I ended up checking into Vista a day early, and then I was so excited because I wanted to live in Vista, but I actually ended up moving into Chatham. And so when I was there was no one there. It was that when I'd been there a day early, everyone was supposed to show up the next day. So I ended up being by myself. But that was such a small portion compared to like everything else that happened afterwards.
Well, I mean, you ended up in Vista eventually though.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very quickly after moving into Chatham, didn't last long, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, like that's a next month thing for sure.
That's another show.
So do you remember how long you waited for your offer letter? Because I know some people were talking about, oh my gosh, it was hell. It was like months or maybe it was a month. I think they said you'd find out in 4 to 6 weeks.
I don't remember it taking exceptionally long.
No, mine didn't.
I just remember being super excited when I got it, and the role that I got when it said role hopper.
Yeah, you got lucky.
I really did get lucky, my dude. I did get lucky when I saw role hopper, and I went and looked it up, and they're like, role hopper, you can do multiple things. I'm like, cool. I remember the date, and the date was too far back, and I'm like, can I move it forward a little bit? They're like, this is the only one available. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like I was saying, I wanted to go in fall of 2000, but I had to go. Only thing available was fall or spring of 2001.
Yeah. Mine took, I'm pretty sure, almost exactly 2 weeks from the presentation to the offer letter. Hey, here's my cat. To the offer letter arriving. And I actually I skipped school for like a week. I had a friend who was back up in Connecticut. Our high school did February and April breaks, which is like apparently really weird. Because in South Carolina and here in California, like my stepkids they have just a March break, and that's how it is in South Carolina too. But in Connecticut, we had a whole week for President's Day and a whole week in April. And one of my friends who's a senior in high school, her and her dad were going to visit her brother who was living in Orlando. So she was like one of my closest friends at the time. And she wanted me to go with her. So I was like, I was like a straight A student in college. So I was like, I can miss a week of classes. It's fine. And it was fine. But like, so I was in Disney at Universal at, Disney World, like only one day each. And then like at the beach and hanging out with like my friends from high school who lived there. And, I came home from this like amazing fun trip with my friend and her dad and immediately like I think it was the day I went back to my dorm room, I had a letter waiting. Like it had come I think it came that day, but still it was kind of weird timing. But yeah, it was right at 2 weeks. And so I didn't have, so you said you applied for spring, but like what was it that you said
No, I applied. I wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. I wanted to
Gotcha.
go down to Florida as soon as I possibly can. And I wanted the fall of 2000, but they gave me the spring of 2001. And
okay, that's where I heard fall, and I think I like assumed fall of 2001. I was like, wait a minute, how did you end up?
I wanted to.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was my sophomore year.
Yeah, and mine. So my offer letter said operations, which I was like, I want attractions, and like. I do have I don't know. I'm allergic to sunscreen. So I can't stand in the sun for like long periods of time. I can't be out. Like when I go to the beach or whatever, I wear cover-ups and big hats and like, everything. So I was like, I don't know how to I didn't know what to do because you can't tell them, no, I can't be a parking attendant, but I figured I would just deal with that when I got there if I had to. I also, the custodial was under operations. Like, this is such a weird lumped, like, how is operations parking attendant and custodial and attractions? Okay. Like, how is this possible? So, yeah, so I had to cross my fingers at this point and hope that I didn't have to get down there and bring like a doctor's note saying, and then in the end, I brought a doctor's note anyway, just in case, because my doctor was like, no, you cannot be standing in the sun for, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day. You can't. Yeah. So I ended up not needing said doctor's note totally because they put me in attractions. And I'm not gonna say where they actually put me and where I ended up quite yet, but like they did put me in attractions. So I got lucky in that when I got down there, I got in attractions. Because the other thing is, I am one of those. Well, not anymore because I've had a lot of friends that I've taken care of because I'm the mom friend, and also a lot of nieces and nephews as well. But back then, I could not even hear somebody gagging without throwing up myself. So the idea of having to spread anything on throw up was just no, like smelling it.
God, what do they call that? What was it called when that happened? Oh, code something. Never mind. Keep going.
Yeah.
Remember coming over and you have to go and take care of it.
Becky's in the chat. She had she was a housekeeper, which not the best job. To be honest though, except for people being disgusting and having to clean up other people's disgusting, I maybe could have done it. Like I did actually at one point in my adult life, I got really ill, like literally had an ulcer from my desk job, because it was so horrible. And I quit my desk job and I was like, I just need to not deal with people or sit behind a desk for a while. And I worked at a doggy daycare and I literally cleaned out dog kennels and cleaned up dog poop for like 6 months straight. So, but I don't know, man, like for some reason, cleaning up dog poop does not gross me out the way cleaning up after people does. So
yeah, that's a bit bothersome. I feel you on that one. Definitely.
Hold on, I'm saying I do. She said code V and I'm saying, I don't even want to know. Like, I don't really remember the codes for like people puking on the ride and stuff. Like I used to. For the longest time I did, but that's like for probably 15 years or so, 12 years at least, I pointed with 2 fingers, but I don't do that anymore.
Whole hand.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I still do. I do the whole hand more than I actually point. But also my mom had this, like when she would get angry, she would like point at you. So like, I've never really liked pointing at people. But anyway, so you got your offer letter. How long did it take you to accept the offer?
Pretty sure it was immediately. I was trying to go. Really, I was. With my enthusiasm, and I'm pretty sure, I can't recall the exact detail, but I'm almost positive it was immediately. Wouldn't let everyone know that I am going. I remember telling my dad and him being super excited because my family are Disney fans. Yeah. My dad loves Aladdin. So if you ever meet him, he'll sing you, I'll show you the world. He'll whip out his karaoke machine and he will sing, I can show you the world.
I feel like I need this in my life.
Yeah, you do. Bryan Mathis Sr., my father.
Oh, are you a junior? I didn't know.
Yes, I am a junior. Yeah. About that every time.
Yeah, I got my letter. I was at school and like I actually was having dinner with my family that night. I'd flown in super late from Florida with my friend like the night before, and I hadn't seen my parents at all. So I was going to dinner, like going back home to have dinner at the house with my parents, again, so close to where I went to school. And I got this letter and I called I want to say I called my house and I expected my mom to be there, but she wasn't. And my dad answered, and I was like, Dad, I got accepted to the Disney college program. And he was like, okay, we'll talk about it when you get home. And I was like, excuse you. So I got home, and I later that evening, and like I told my mom, and she was like, yeah, that's great. And I was like, well, Dad's being a jerk about it. And she was like, don't worry about him. So like, she was like, just go accept it and we'll tell him about it later. Like we'll tell him you accepted it later. I don't really know what his issue was. I think he was just worried about me like going away from home because
your baby's leaving.
I mean, but he knew I was a homebody and stuff. I think he was just worried that I would, regret it or something. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, so I literally that night, as soon as I got to my parents' house and like I got on a computer at their house versus like my dorm. So yeah, I accepted it literally the moment I was like sitting at a computer and could actually do so. And I just like, I was worried about the operations thing, and what sort of job I would be working. But and also I was a fine arts major at the time.
Yeah.
Because like, what I don't know, what girl who's been acting and singing since she was 8 years old doesn't want to be like an actress or a singer? It was, it was idiotic for me. It is not idiotic for everybody, but it was idiotic for me because I don't like dancing. I'm not a great dancer. I'm not good at memorizing choreography. And I have enjoyed doing like outside stuff with it since then. But, for me as a fine and performing arts major, I just have my fingers crossed. I mentioned like, the great movie ride and stuff earlier. Like I would get into something like that was like a ride with a monologue or even Tower of Terror or Haunted Mansion where you get to like act like grumpy all day long. So yeah, I was like, okay, well, listen, there's like I would say I figured there was like a 50% chance, even though the operations was 3 different sections: parking, custodial, and attractions. I was very, in my interview, I was very like, I figured that the way my interview went and also my, resume that I gave them, I was like, okay, there's maybe a slightly better chance I'll get attractions than something else. So yeah, I accepted it ASAP. And like I told, other than my dad being weird, like I told everybody as soon as I could, because I was so excited to just get it going,
I started hamming it up and doing I'm going to Disney World. What you doing? I'm going to Disney World. Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that probably like I still bring it up, mention it like in passing sometimes, but like I know for a fact that my friends who I was close with, right before, during, and for the first like 5 years after the college program got real damn tired of me like talking about like, I'm going, I'm here. I've done the Disney World College program. I'm going again. Like, yep. I know they I definitely had friends, close friends who just did not feel bad being like, Tara, Jesus Christ, shut up about the college program for once.
Similar to you, I was a fine arts major as well. I was on a acting scholarship at the University of Illinois at the time. And so I'm sure I annoyed my friends as well, but I was also very excited to go and work. And then, like you say, we'll talk about it in different episodes, but the first role that I ended up getting actually allowed me to use said talents.
Oh, nice. Well, yeah. I mean, I had no idea. Like I said, I was a fine and performing arts major, but I was I was there on an academic scholarship. So I had no idea that you went to school for that. Did you graduate with that?
No.
Or did you change at the end? Okay. Yeah.
I changed it when I got back, but
same.
I auditioned at the University of, I think it was University of Chicago, I think, for like 40 schools or something. Got a full tuition, I think it was, the University of Illinois. Mm-hmm. Didn't pay for housing. But shortly after that, I switched when I got back from the college program. But yeah, it was an acting scholarship.
Well, awesome. I had no idea. I mean, I've known you. I knew you for, my college program, and we hung out quite a few times after that when you were still in Orlando, and I would
Yeah.
go back from time to time, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to think like what else we can talk about that won't give away too much, from future episodes. I guess I do want to go back. Like I do wish, I think you can still like on Wayback Machines find like all these old websites and stuff that existed. I mentioned it earlier kind of in passing, but like I said, one of the things I really liked about before my first college program, because it changed pretty soon, like within a couple years after that, was that people weren't policing the web the way they were years like after that. And I mean, shoot, even nowadays, I'm pretty sure there was like some dude that was posting stuff on TikTok that Disney decided it wasn't anything bad, but Disney decided they didn't like it, so they fired him. Yeah. But I mean, honestly, like that's social media because like this is
it is.
There was no MySpace back then. There was no MySpace. Yeah. There was no not even no Facebook. Like there was no Facebook for colleges. Even there was no MySpace. There was no Twitter. There was I don't even know when. Like none of this shit existed.
What would you say? It was Yahoo Blogs and forums, and there was this one college site called College Kids or College Cities or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking on there, and then I don't remember where I saw the forums, but there were like 2 or 3 different. Are we calling them forums? I feel so old by calling them forums.
No, that's what they were though. They were or honestly, I don't even. Were they forums or were they simply message boards back then? They might have just been. Is that interchangeable?
I don't know. I feel really old right now for the first time today. But I remember everyone just talking about how much fun it is. And similar to what you said earlier about we'll always go back, right? And that seemed to be the overall arching theory or theme across the board was people saying that they would go back, people saying it was a great experience, people saying they met so many wonderful people. The being able to go to Disney World on your day off.
Gosh, I know.
All that was like, I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you get to go. I'm like, oh. And then I remember people complaining about that the pay wasn't that great, but
oh my God, but
everything was included. Minus your food.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing that I think we can talk about because this is something that we all knew ahead of time. And I think it's really important was that internships are generally considered unpaid positions.
Yeah.
And so we were told this back in the day, we all got, no matter what job you worked, you got $6 an hour. That was the Florida minimum wage.
Yep.
But this is 2001. I think what's craziest to me is that the Florida minimum wage now is what? It was like a couple of years ago, it was still only like, hold on, I'm looking it up because that's
I was gonna say I think it's 8 maybe.
It is $8.56 an hour.
$8.56, $8.
Yeah. So, but back then, but I mean, oh my God, the fact that it has only gone up $2.50 in $2.56 in 20 years is insane to me. But like you said, yeah, we only got paid $6 an hour, but our rent was it was $67 a week, I believe.
$67 a week. That's exactly
for a 3-bedroom, and it was $82 for a 2-bedroom, which is what I
had.
Yeah. And like everything was included, like electricity, yes. Cable TV, like basic cable TV. Yeah. I mean, I think we had it wasn't dial-up internet. It was
internet.
It was LAN internet, right? It was slow as
DSL.
shit.
It
was slow as shit. I mean, this was 2001, but it was like the same slow as shit internet you had in your college dorm room.
Exactly.
But yeah, but everything was included. So like I'm trying to think like what is, I'm doing the math right now because that's going to drive me crazy. 67 times, let's say it was $67 a week. So $268 a month. And, that was for a 3-bedroom. So that's 6 people in an apartment. So that's $1,600, for a 3-bedroom apartment. But again, everything is included with that. So I guess it was, now that I think about it, probably pricier than getting, a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment in Orlando at that time. But I don't know, I don't know what Sable Palms, which was like right across the street from Vista, cost back in those days. But I mean, even if the apartment was, say, $1,000 a month, then you're talking about $50 for cable and internet at least. I don't even remember what things cost.
I mean, if we're going to talk about cost, then you got to include the amenities of like the bus system that we were allowed to. If you didn't have vehicle, you can walk right outside and hop on a bus and get to any of the Disney Worlds.
The buses were a pain in the ass, but if you didn't need transportation, if you didn't have, and it was reliable, quote unquote. It was reliable private for college program transportation.
That's what I mean. Sorry, not
we knew about this before going, so you could go down, and there. Also, this is pre everybody having a cell phone.
Yeah. People didn't have
I had one, but I was only allowed to use it in emergencies.
I didn't get one until my last program, and that was just to call people from all over the country. Yeah. This was pre-cell phone time, right?
Yeah,
We had a wall phone in the house.
Yep.
And you'd use the extension, and you can call. I remember being able to call the extension from anywhere at Disney World by just hitting, whatever that code was. Yep.
That was cool. But you could literally call anywhere at Disney without even dialing a full number or whatever.
Yeah. You can call your apartment from a Disney phone. Yeah.
But I just knowing beforehand that yes, you're only making $6 an hour, but they guaranteed you, I believe, 32 hours a week. Mm-hmm. So
hard to pick up at all either. It was very easy to pick up overtime.
Yeah. So it was very easy until a certain period, but we'll talk about that in 2 months.
That's a different story.
So, but also because again, and we'll get into this in September, but pre-September 11th, it was very easy to pick up overtime, but you're still making at least $192 a week, and there's no income tax in Florida. So, it was very going into this knowing that they had reliable transportation. You didn't need your own transportation. There were no cell phones or cell phone bills or anything like that. And your rent covers literally everything. You don't have to worry about any additional bills ever.
Nope. Except for groceries.
Yeah, and the buses also went to local grocery stores.
They sure did. Publix, right around.
Not to mention that you could walk to.
You could walk to Crossroads.
Chick-fil-A. Was there a Chick-fil-A there?
There was a Chick-fil-A right outside.
There really was.
There was a Wendy's and a Chick-fil-A.
I mean, I'm on Chick-fil-A for so many reasons.
Of course. But back then we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know.
No, nobody knew anything back then.
No, because we didn't have the internet at that level. I just remember Wendy's and
back in the day.
My day, I used to have dial-up internet, and it made this beep sound.
We had to walk uphill to the Chick-fil-A and walk uphill back from the Chick-fil-A.
I had to wait 15 minutes for a page just to load, and when I clicked,
oh my god,
there was a timepiece, and it turned slowly, and as it turned, we just waited. Yes.
Oh god, but yeah, honestly, especially for me as somebody who grew up, as I was so young, I hadn't been on my own really at all. I don't count living in a college dorm for a little bit being on my own. Yeah. And for someone like me who hadn't really been on my own at all, the idea of because they also, you learn this all before the college program. They take that money right out of your paycheck. Your rent comes right out of your paycheck. You never have to worry about it. So what you get in your account is what you have.
Yes.
And it's not much. Let's be real.
It's every week.
Yeah. And again, I am still just oh my God. It's the minimum wage in Florida is only $2.56 more an hour than it was in 2001.
A whole show by itself.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, on that note, I think we've covered everything pre-college program that we possibly can. I am, like I had with this month, I'm now also facing I am an adult with a family now. for next month. So I'm not quite 100% sure if next month the episode will be on Saturday, August 7th or Saturday, August 14th, but I will know probably within the next week or so. So as soon as I know, I will start, obviously you'll know, and hopefully we'll get some other people in. This one had to change. We only have the two of us, as I mentioned privately, because I had to change this one last minute because I have stepkids and I had to work around schedules with, because we have them full time. We are the parents, honestly.
Right.
So yeah. Being an adult is fun. Yeah. But
adulting,
yeah. But next month, so either Saturday, August 7th or Saturday, August 14th, as soon as I figure out when exactly, I will share it. We'll be talking about checking in for the college program, which I know for you was quite a bit earlier than us. But also I think you can talk about like your switch over from Chatham to Vista and how it was extending your program and stuff if you're going to be able to join us. And yeah, so we'll talk about like how we got there, checking in, meeting our roommates, and like starting our training and all that fun stuff. I think honestly, I had a crazy first week of my college program, so I'm really excited about that episode in particular. Yes. But yeah, so we'll talk about all of that in August. And I mean, any last things you want to plug or talk about before I do my little outro?
Oh, anything I want to plug? Love each other. Stop fighting. You can find me on Instagram, Bryan and Cannabis. Yeah, don't have a lot to plug. I'm looking forward to getting more into the details.
The real fun stuff.
Real fun stuff without getting stopped by Disney online police, and saying some stuff that'll get me or anybody I know in trouble. But because I did so many programs, I have multiple check-in stories.
I actually don't know anybody from my 2001 or 2002 college programs who still works for Disney, I believe. I'm pretty sure none of them do.
Wait.
Most of them, they just got older. And I mean, I know some full-time cast members who do, and that's whatever, but
I didn't think I knew anyone, and we just moved back in November, and we went to downtown Disney. I forget to which restaurant it was. No, Disney Springs.
Oh, yeah.
I still call it Hollywood Studio, MGM Studios. And there was a gentleman. The problem is I don't remember which program I met Brett on, because I did 3 programs for 18 months. But it was so surprising to run into him. And I'm like, do I know you? I'm like, were you on a college program? He goes, yes, let's go. I used to go by. He's like, Bryan Black. I'm like, yeah. and then my wife was there, and our friends were there, and we just got right back into it. And it was like a day didn't pass. I
think I knew I knew a couple, not quite a few. I knew a couple people from my first college programs. I do know a couple from when I was a manager who still work there, but I do know a couple from my first college programs who did work for Disney, but I don't think they do anymore because of the pandemic. Unfortunately.
I ran into my old manager.
Oh my gosh.
Kingdom. Randomly. And his name is Ben. He's another man of color, and I was there with my family at the time. So I think my kids were like 5, 3, and 1. So it was 4 years ago. And he recognized me before I recognized him. And he's like, come back and find me. And he saved us a space in front of Magic Kingdom. So we had one of those little VIP areas where we can go and sit one. Yeah, it was so cute, right? Like still passing the level. Like, yeah, man. Yeah, Disneyland, CP. I must have been an okay college programmer for you to remember me and hook my family up. So yeah, it was still spreading that Disney magic. So
yeah, I mean that's honestly like the couple times I have like the people I know who still have worked for Disney for years, or they might not anymore, but like I don't know, man. Once you're there, once you've been there, whether you've left or not, like you still spread that magic. I feel like
you do. And you still look for that Disney standard everywhere. It spoils you. It spoils you.
To be honest, the Disney standard from when we worked there spoiled me so much that now I go back and I'm like, Like it's still better than most other places, but
it's
it
not
is not what it used to be.
Yes, yeah. Back in my day, the Daily Standard.
And I'm not talking about like the lookbook or whatever the hell they called it. Like I'm talking about just the customer service. And not the whole like, oh, you complain and you get anything. None of that bullshit.
No.
Just generally
just general eye contact from as soon as you see him, you smile.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
So I feel it.
Well, on that note, I'm sure that will come up more than once in future webcasts, but I will see you next month for sure. I'm hoping. Yep. And thank you again for joining me tonight. With the last minute change, I'm sad we couldn't get more people on, but I'm thinking next month we'll have a couple more, which will be fun. Again, you can follow Bryan on Instagram at Bryan of Cannabis, and you can find me across the web at a Geek Saga. If you follow me, you will get updates for when you can catch the next episode in this WDWCP 2000. That's so many letters in this WDWCP 2001 20-year anniversary series. And then again, the next one will focus on us arriving in Orlando for our college programs, checking in, getting apartment and work assignments, training experiences, and more. Thank you again for joining us, and have a wonderful evening. And we'll see you again in August. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Tara Lynn's A Geek Saga podcast. If you like what you heard, please check out my website, ageeksaga.com, or consider supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/ageeksaga.